What's up, guys? OraMagi here, and you're down there. I was wondering why there was nothing actually in front of me. Anyway, what's up, guys? My name's OraMagi, and welcome back to another video. Obviously, if you've had your eyes open for the past 10 seconds, 20 seconds, however long it's been since this video actually started, then obviously you'll know that this is a kind of different, kind of new recording setup. I'm experimenting with new camera angles, things like that. Plus, also, as you know, I'm a lazy little shit, so of course I'd prefer to record my videos sitting down. Let me know what you guys think. Do you prefer me standing up? You can see more of the background and things like that. Or do you prefer this kind of close-up, kind of more personal, kind of more intimate? Okay, you know, kind of stuff like that. Do you prefer this kind of more, sit down, I guess, more casual setting? Let me know in the comments below or over on Twitter at OraMagi. Anyway, let's move on to the topic of today's video, shall we? Last year on a cold winter's day, I was scrolling through Twitter when I came across this tweet from J-List, please sponsor me, senpai, which pretty much posed the question, what do you think of fan service? And I didn't respond because I kind of forgot about the tweet and subsequently this whole video idea for about 2 months. But then I came across this tweet from Nino, everybody's favorite hot take man, dude, artist, hot taker, hot takeist. One of those. But the tweet pretty much said that putting the tiniest amount of sex into an anime makes it fan service. Obviously that's Nino echoing the thoughts of people who say that, not him saying it himself, if you know what I mean. And that got me thinking, why is fan service so frowned upon? Are the new age of anime fans too straight-laced? Has anime become too sacred? Well, today we're going to find out. Roll the intro! Before we continue any further with the video, it's important that I outline my stance on the matter, my stance on fan service, and I think the best way for me to do that would be to demonstrate to you what I think about fan service by using one of my figurines. This is my figurine of Centaur from OraMagi Brilliant Park, a wonderful show, and this is a pretty good figurine if I do say so myself. But it gets better. These are her pantsu. This is how the figurine came out of the box. I didn't alter her skirt or anything, I didn't move her legs or anything. This is how the figurine came out of the box, and this is proudly on display in my room for anybody to see as soon as they enter. That's my stance on fan service. You know I love me some anime titty, oh yes I do. Yeah, boy, you know I love me some anime titty, man. But yeah, if you couldn't quite get it from just looking at my surroundings and from what I've just said, I am not averse to fan service in the slightest. That should come as a surprise to absolutely nobody. In fact, sometimes I even go looking for it on purpose. Let me tell you a little story, a little anecdote. I remember back in my first year of uni, which seems like an absolute eternity ago, but I had a whiteboard in my room, and on that whiteboard I'd write various things like shopping lists and whatnot, but I would also write what anime I wanted to watch next. And below that, I would also write specifically what ecchi anime I wanted to watch next. That's right, on my whiteboard, which everybody could see when they walked into my room, I purposely wrote what ecchi series I wanted to watch next. Again, that should show you my stance on fan service. But, oh naive YouTube viewers, my stance isn't as one-dimensional or two-dimensional, three-dimensional. My stance isn't as simple as I may have just led you on to believe. Whilst I most definitely do enjoy my fan service, there are places where even I believe it doesn't quite belong, or at the very least where it should be toned down because it impinges on more important aspects of the anime or the media that I am consuming, for example, the story. There are shows like this which exist, shows which don't know whether they're some ecchi borderline hentai show or a serious action-based show, for example, shows which have a conflicted identity. Take Strike the Blood, for example. This isn't just your show, senpai, it's ours! Yeah. that show. When I read about it and started watching it, I thought that this show had a genuinely interesting premise. The main character is the fourth progenitor, this mystical, super powerful vampire who maybe isn't even supposed to exist according to some of the stuff that goes on in the story. And then there's these beasts which roam around this entire man-made island where man and monster roam freely and intermingle, and it's actually all really cool. It sounds good, right? Doesn't it? Doesn't it? But wait! There's more! So the MC, this fourth progenitor which I just mentioned, he's a vampire, right? So how do vampires activate their powers? You know, they drink blood, so this guy's gotta hunt down his prey in the coolest way possible, and he's gotta drink his prey's blood to activate his powers, right? I wish. No, what's kind of annoying, and I guess par for the course since it is a light novel adaptation, yeah, it's one of those shows, is that his powers are activated whenever he gets a nosebleed. So I know what you're thinking, OraMagi, Yemi, what do you mean getting a nosebleed? It's still blood related? That's okay, right? Oh, my sweet summer child. No. Guess what his nosebleeds are triggered by? Guess. That's right! You guessed it! Panty shots, and more panty shots! And that pretty much sets the entire tone for the show. Fun fact, Kill la Kill and Strike the Blood aired in the same season, and they both have slightly incestuous bath scenes. Coincidence? I think not! Anyway, that's enough rambling about Strike the Blood. Now that you're aware about my stance on fan service and how I really feel about it, let's move on to the meat and potatoes of this video, shall we? When you like something, you usually want to tell people, hey, look at this thing that I like. You want to share your passions with people because that's natural. And that's usually how a subculture forms. When enough people share their passions with one another, a community of sorts form, and the anime community is of no exception. Of course, smaller groups can then splinter off from this bigger community, this subculture, to become their own individual entities. Take, for example, AniTwitter, the r/anime subreddit, and the /A board on 4chan. Each individual person will usually have their own separate taste when it comes to anime, but of course, members of these three communities I just named will usually hold very similar values, hence why a community can exist in the first place. I know all this talk about holding similar values might sound a bit foreign, especially since I'm talking about online communities, but it will all make sense a bit later. Trust me. So it stands to reason that there will be people within the community who will wish for further expansion. The progression of anime is a mainstream interest. But wait! What is further expansion? What is the progression of anime as a mainstream interest? Well, to put it simply, the people who hold these values want to show the wider world that anime is something everybody can enjoy by highlighting all of its core and interesting features. The great characters, the good storytelling, the memorable moments that we all love, the huge tits. Wait, not everybody likes huge tits? But that's exactly my point! I don't have exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure there's a fair amount of people within the anime community who don't want to share all of the ecchi and ultra-violent shows that they watch. You can't fool me. I know you're out there. I see you. And to be fair, there's probably a decent amount of people who want to have absolutely nothing to do with all of the ecchi and ultraviolet shit that goes on within the anime community. For example, take when r/anime was removed from appearing on r/all due to the infamous top 10 anime bath scenes of all times thread. So what happens next? What's the next step? Well, when an anime community, or any subculture for that matter, is effectively shunned by the greater populace, there are two things that I see happening. One, people move on with their lives and don't give a fuck. That's me. I'm in the number one group. Or two, that feeling of being shunned by the greater masses begins to echo in the heads of the people who wished for this greater expansion, and this desire to want to appeal to the greater masses begins to fester within the subculture. People start to think, why? What did we do wrong? What happened? What's wrong with us? People reevaluate their likes as they try to find the reason that they were rejected in the first place. And what did people settle on after all of that mindful contemplation? What's the answer that comes to mind? Since the dawn of mankind, there has only ever been one thing, one entity, to link every man, woman, and child who has ever existed. This thing, this entity, do we understand it? Do we fathom its importance in our lives? No. But can we perceive it? Can we appreciate it?
Yes! This thing, many people have tried to understand mankind's fascination with it. Time and time again, the answer is eluded even the most intelligent of scholars. But today, I bring to you the answer that rivals even the meaning of life itself. Only one thing could link every man, woman and child who has ever passed through this microcosm of existence. That one thing! Boobs!
Of course, I'm generalizing super heavily here, but there is some truth to the statement. Now, like I mentioned, this entire thing is just a general hypothesis. There, of course, are going to be people who just don't like ecchi, ultra-violent, and risque material, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. But what I can't help but think is that this desire to want to be accepted by the wider world is what's responsible for this almost zealously Puritan attitude some people have towards ecchi, ultra-violence, and other questionable material that's often presented in anime. So now we've climbed and climbed and climbed up the metaphorical mountain. We've reached the top, the summit, the peak, and it's about time that I address the titular point. What do I mean when I pose the question, has anime become too sacred? Well, it's pretty simple actually. You know the saying, too much of a good thing is a bad thing? Yeah, it's pretty much that. Well, I probably could just end the video there, couldn't I? No, I've got way more to say. Hold on a second. More and more people, at least as far as my time in anime communities has told me, are holding anime in too high of a regard. They're thinking of it as this perfect depiction of the world which needs to remain untouched at all costs, which cannot be sullied by our mortal hands, which must be preserved for posterity, when in actuality, it's none of that. Anime is filthy and flawed, and it's within those imperfections that we find the value and the beauty. Like everyone is guilty of indulging in fan service and pandering to some degree. A good example I have for you guys is Kyoto Animation's Myriad Colors Phantom World. It was pretty mediocre, honestly, but it was pretty fun. I enjoyed watching it. If you do remember the show, then you'll also remember the infamous, I use that word very lightly, limbo scene which involved Mai, one of the main females of the cast. I personally thought the scene was fucking hilarious, but I remember going into the Reddit discussion thread afterwards and just seeing so many people just be like, fan service in Kyoto Animation, I'm dropping the show, boobs! You think I'm joking, but I'm really not. And to me, and I'm pretty sure there are other people out there who share this sentiment, it seems that people just don't know how to have fun with anime anymore. Is anime dying because of this? Is this the end of my glorious Chinese cartoons? No, probably not. Going back to the 90 tweet I mentioned earlier, you have people these days going into a show not knowing what to expect, they see a bit of focus on a butt shot, and then they drop the show and the reason that they cite is, ew, fan service. Like, bitch, if you think that's fan service, go watch Bunsins and maken-ki. Then you know what real fan service is. Go watch some triagic from this big fat pairs of tits being shoved in your face every goddamn frame. That's what real fan service is, you weak ass pussy breast motherfuckers. Sorry, I lost my composure there for a second. But let's wrap things up before I get excited again, shall we put it. Has anime become too sacred? For some people, yes. When I do see tweets and posts of people complaining about fan service when it was just like a tiny cleavage shot, I do roll my eyes and I go, what the fuck are you people on about? But it's not a sentiment which applies to everyone. There are still anime fans out there who can go and watch shows and have fun with shows and enjoy them for what they are without complaining about, honestly, quite minimal aspects. So has anime become too sacred for some people? That is the answer that I'm going to settle on for this episode of TGMT, and I think that's just about going to do it for me. And so, if you've made it this far into the video, I appreciate you. You have my utmost gratitude. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to show that you did by leaving a like, a comment, sharing, subscribing. All those actions help me out more than you could ever imagine. Enjoy your day or night, and as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.